Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Steltori, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. For the last year or so, I've been featuring each fille du roi or king's daughter and getting to know their stories a little bit better. There are over 700 of them, so we've got a long way to go. We're at episode 140 today and looking at the life of Anne Lagou. But before we begin, I want to show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify are all ways that you can absolutely make certain you don't miss any content. The next three ways are ways to help the channel grow. Ko-fi, Etsy, and Patreon are all ways of showing your support. And I have given you the links for you for further exploration if that's something you'd like to do. So let's get on with the show. So we are on episode 140 with fille du roi Anne Lagou. I hope I'm saying it right. And our this is a viewer request. And when I looked at my files, we did see that the husband of one of my dear friends, this is also his great-grandmother. So let's get to know Anne a little bit better. So Anne was born in about 1652 in the city of Le Mans. Her church or parish was Saint-Etienne, and her parents were Pierre Lagou and Marie Bois-Cochet. And let me tell you a little bit about Le Mans. It's a pretty big place, and of course we know it because of Le Mans auto racing. But Le Pays de la Loire is the region of France where it is found, and it is found in the Sarthe department. And you can actually see, because it's such a big place, you can see Le Mans right in the middle there. It's a city of about 145,000 today, and it's actually the capital of the Sarthe department. The history of Le Mans is one that dates back to a really long time ago, 47 BC, when the Romans seized this city. During the 11th century, it was the capital of the ancient province of Man. It was the stage for most battles. The English and French battled greatly here. Henry II, who became King of England, was born here in Le Mans. By the 13th century, Le Mans, it reverted to French rule. In an interesting tidbit, Wilbur Wright officially demonstrated his airplane in 1908 here, so that's kind of really neat. And of course, in 1923, the famous race of 24 hours of Le Mans, the sports car race, began, and of course is still run annually to this day. So she comes definitely from not only a very historic place, but a place that's still current today. What brought her to New France? So as so many before her, her father's death precipitated her decision to come to New France as a fille du roi. She sailed on the Nouvelle France, and she arrived in Quebec City July 31st, 1670. She carried with her a dowry worth about 200 pounds. The groom that she selected and who selected her, his name is Pierre Daria, and he was born about 1647 in a commune called Saint-Augustin, which is found in the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region, and it is the department of Charente. So you can see clearly on where I've circled. His parents were Louis Vallière and Perrine Fournier. The church that he would have been baptized in, Saint Pierre, dates from probably the 12th century. It was destroyed almost completely in 1562, although of course it was still in use. And sometime in the late 18th century, it was completely rebuilt. It is, of course, a historical monument. And the top portion is how the place looks today. It's really a farming, very quiet village, very typical of the French countryside. So what brought Pierre to New France? Pierre would come as an engagé, which is a hired man, would sign a contract and would either work in the fields or work in a domestic situation. In 1667, we find him, Pierre Vallière, 20 years old. He is working in the household of Pierre Parent in Beauport. So we know that he presumably at least was here from 1667 on, and then obviously by the time she comes in 1670, he would have, in order to marry, he would have to have been, have completed his contract. So we know he probably was here from at least 1666, about. So let's have a look at when and how they married. So on the 8th of September, 1670, Pierre and Anne were married in Quebec City. This is their marriage license. You'll recall that Anne arrived in July. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. And I'm glad to see that, they found each other. So let's see where they went. They would settle in a town called Saint-Augustin-de-Desmaures. And this tiny community, it's an interesting one because it was, there was a count of how many Fijois eventually settled here. 17. So we'll be revisiting here quite a number of times. We've been here before, but just interesting that this tiny place would somehow attract that many Fijois. The little bit of history of this place. In 1647, Jean Juchereau, Lord of Mar, is given the seigneury that includes this very small village. By 1668, the territory begins to be occupied. It was then called de Mar. By 1671, a community mill was established. So this is about the time they're moving in, Anne and Pierre. A community mill was established at Lake Saint-Augustin by the son of the original lord, also named Jean Juchereau de la Ferté. By 1685, Paul Augustin Juchereau de Mar becomes the third seigneur of this community. The name of the parish most likely comes from his first name. In 1691, the establishment of this parish is recognized. Although there are no official documents that prove this date, it is the unofficial start of this parish. At this time, there were approximately only 200 people that lived here. So this gives you an idea of the remoteness of it, the smallness of it, and the, kind of steeped in time place, if you visit, of how it has retained that essential nature of its privacy almost, So let's have a look at the family that Pierre and Anne create. So their first son, Pierre, would die in infancy. Marie-Anne would marry François Bouchard and have 7 children, 4 of whom would make it. Pierre would marry Marguerite Gabory and have 14 children, 10 of whom reached adulthood. Marie-Madeleine would marry Robert Petit, would have 6 children, 3 of whom would make it. Remy would marry Catherine Casse and have 8 children, 4 of whom would make it. Catherine's mother was Françoise Pilois, who we profiled in episode 114. Jean would die in infancy. The second Jean would marry Claire Boucher and have 4 children, 3 of whom made it to adulthood. He then married Suzanne Miranda and had 12 children, 5 of whom married. Pierre would marry Marie-Anne Caille and have 5 children and have 3 children before his and have 3 children survive him before his untimely death at 29. Pierre would die suddenly before his son Pierre was born. He died, we presume, before October 24, 1681. He was a heartbreaking 34 years of age. And you can see on the 1681 census that it did something to me when I saw this. Anne Lagou, veuve, widow, 32. Children, Pierre, Marie, Madeleine, Remy, Jean. And they took and Pierre wasn't even born. She was pregnant. So she had 3, 4, 5 children, pregnant. She had 3 goats and 4 alfalfa. It's about 2 acres of land. Just amazing what she had, just the shock of it. Thankfully for Anne, one man died and another arrived. Who was the man? His name, Rene Mesny, and he was born about 1641 in the commune of Ponchon, which is part of the Hauts-de-France region, and the department is Auzé. It is a very, very small town. About 1,200 people live there. The Église Saint-Remy dates from the 11th century, and there it is. And then I just had an aerial view of the little town. Just amazing. Just picture perfect. So Rene and Anne would marry on January 8th, 1682, very shortly after the death, as you can well imagine. She had 6 children by then. So, you know, he took on this widow with 6 children. Just amazing. Not to be outdone, he and Anne would go on to form a family of their own, adding to those 6. So we have Genealogical, the Mary Rene, who would marry Jacques Vermet and have 13 children, 8 of whom would make it to adulthood. Jacques' mother was fille du roi Barbe Ménard, who we did an episode on in episode 131 quite recently. Marie-Françoise married Jean-Baptiste Michaud and had 9 children, 8 of whom would make it. Her second husband was Barthélemy Normandais, and she had 2 more children, both of whom survived. Françoise married Mathieu Côté and had 3 children, all of whom survived. She then married Jean Boussière and had 4 children, all of whom survived. Both Jean's grandmothers were filles du roi. Noël Gassard, who we have not yet done, and André Romédière, who we did profile in episode 90. So that's kind of neat. And then we have Marie Geneviève, who married Jean-Baptiste Charon and had 8 children, all of whom survived. Marie Madeleine married twice but did not have any children. Augustin married Marie-Françoise Lecomte and had 6 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Her grandmother was a fille du roi, Geneviève Leclerc, who we will be doing in a future episode. Thérèse married Jean-Baptiste Gosselin and had 5 children, all of whom made it. By 1700, Rene himself would pass away at the early age of 59, leaving Anne a widow for a second time. They would have been married 18 years by then, and Anne herself would go on to live another 28 years, dying at the age of 76. She died December 16, 1728. Just a remarkable, remarkable woman. She did not remarry. I presume at that point she was just like, okay, I've got enough. And both of them, Rene and her first husband, are all presumably buried at Saint-Augustin. Just a remarkable life. And her number of descendants from these 2 men would be, as of 1729, an astonishing 144. Just amazing, amazing woman. To have lived that long, endured the death of 2 husbands, just a remarkable woman, Just wanted to give you some indications of my favorite resources. I've got the links below. Have a check at that and see if there's something that you would love. I would absolutely, today I'm going to feature Nos Origines. I really would encourage you to go. It's a free site. Go on there and check stuff out. Put in the name. You can make it English as well, kind of toggle it back and forth. Just an incredible amount of research has been done on that, and just kind of user contributed. So check those out. Check that one out for sure. And here we end episode 140. Anne Lagou was truly an amazing, amazing woman for me to look at, to have that many descendants, to have survived, to have thrived, to be truly a woman of substance. She is probably up there in terms of my top 10 in terms of, and I'm not even related to her, I just admire her and think that she probably passed down that strength to her descendants. And I'm sure there are many. So I can't wait to hear from you all. So until I see you on episode 141, we thank her memory and we bless her contribution, and we are grateful that she came to our shores. Until I see you on episode 141, au revoir.